back, folks. It's your friendly neighborhood old soldier coming at you again from a cool, frozen morning down here in Robeson County, North Kakalaki. And I think the weather gal on that WRAL5 TV show said something about maybe it gonna warm up next week. Of course, she said that initially about this week. So I doesn't know very much. What it does know is that it's cold outside and there's that frosty stuff on the ground. My truck was all covered in it this morning. You can still see it in the back window some. But anyway, it's gonna be a great day, I hope, for everybody. Anyway, it's for you, Brother Kyle. But I hope this video finds everybody doing well this day. What do we want to talk about this morning? We talked about Durham City schools yesterday in Durham City and their lack of priorities. But let's just talk about the Communist Party of America. I mean, Democrats. No, I had it right the first time. Absolutely. I am starting to see a trend. I don't know exactly how big this trend is or how strong this trend is or how far this trend is going to carry. What I am going to say is this, though. I'm starting to see videos and newscasts of people that normally in the past have voted very strongly for the Democrat Party, and now they are starting to open their eyes. The real question is, are they truly going to open their eyes, or are they just going to open their eyes for this once around? And there's been several things going on in Chicago where residents are coming out and they're all about, hey, you Democrats, y'all have done this for so long and this, that, and the other. We're tired of it. We're voting Republican this time. You know? And of course, you're in the background, though. That's just where I say the one-timer. You're in the background. Yeah, those Republicans that are in bed with the Democrats, but it's the lesser of the two evils. Okay? See, what is happening is the low information voter side of things they're starting to smell what they've been fed. Let me state that again. They are starting to smell what they have been fed, and they don't like it. And they're starting to get fed a little less now that the Communist Party of America has opened the door wide open at our southern enclaves, through our southern borders. I said enclaves, poor choice of words. But they've opened our southern borders wide open to allow anybody and everybody to just flow through. I did see a video the other day. Now people starting to cross the northern border around Vermont and New Hampshire. That could be a one-off. We really don't think about our border with Canada very much because, honestly, the United States views Canada as a more civilized nation than Mexico. There's truth in the matter there as far as our viewpoints go. Canada has had a stable government for many, many, many years. I mean, right now they got a dictatorship with, Castro's bastard son, Trudeau. Yep, I said it, YouTube. You can kiss my you-know-what. So I wouldn't be surprised as to what old Mr. Trudeau is encouraging people to come into his country and go across the northern borders. Because the Canadian border, really, folks, in certain parts of our nation, wide open. It's not very actively patrolled because of the vastness of it. You go up to Montana, where Montana borders Canada. It's a wilderness, still to this day in a lot of spots. Washington State, Idaho, even parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Not hard to figure out, folks. So my point being there is that now we've got Justin Trudeau doing the same thing, allowing this to happen. Why? Because he's in bed with the World Communist Party. Zoom in through some air in his tire before he causes a wreck. But I talked to you about that this morning, like I said. But again, these normally Democrat voters, they're upset because, their slice of pie just got smaller. And they're starting to see some of the truths that have been stated by conservative voices. I won't say Republicans, because honestly, I can't really disagree with the statement that the Republican Party's in bed with the Democrats as far as, maintaining their status quo in power and even aligning themselves on certain issues. I think the Republican Party hierarchy is in bed with the Democratic Party hierarchy. They just know how to sugarcoat the words to keep people hanging on. And folks, if you're a proud Republican and this upsets you, unfollow me. I don't give a rat's rear end. I've said it before. I've said it again. I'm no longer in love with the Republican Party. I've not been so for the last several years. Mind you, many of their candidates still espouse conservative values. So I try to watch who's being pushed up to the top from the party. But the party itself has become corrupt, weak, and feckless and spineless. I like to think somewhere around the time John Boehner took over Speaker of the House, the Republican Party started to falter and fall. Because, he made all these promises that if he got the speakership, that these certain things were going to change, and we were going to do this, and we were going to do that, we were going to make the Democrats pay, and blah, blah, blah. We were going to hold them accountable. And what did we do? Pulled back the sheets, crawled in right beside them. See, Boehner promised that, the Obamacare, the Obamacare was going to get pulled. Didn't happen. We're going to cut the funding. Funding increased. We're going to pass laws to repeal it. No laws were ever passed to repeal it. The closest attempt came when Donald Trump was elected president. And even then, they didn't take all the teeth out of it. There you have it. Which means I'm going to shift gears now again, like I said, because why am I shifting gears? Because what they're doing, or what they did with affordable health care, they're going to try and push on other things. If you watch this channel, it's a pro-Second Amendment channel. I am absolutely for guns for everybody that can have them. Protect themselves and their families, first and foremost. Sports shooting, hunting, second. The most important reason is to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government if the need arises. Some of you that are out there still have a blind faith that the system's going to right itself. You keep holding on to that blind faith. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But the point I'm getting at is, see, under Obozo, They pushed that affordable health care bull crap. They pushed onto the people something they themselves in Congress were exempt from. They didn't have to buy into the system. But yet they mandated every man, woman, and child in the United States would have some type of coverage. And if you didn't, you got fined. Well, no, that fine's a tax. You can't be both. But yet, John Roberts said, no, it's a tax. Okay. One, what do they got on John Roberts for him to make a statement like that? That's what I'd like to know. What did they do to get him to play along? What did they have on him? So how does it tie into what we're talking about, Second Amendment guns? Okay. They can't just outright repeal the Second Amendment, folks. But what they can do is they can pass laws that restrict the purchase of ammunition. Or they can pass laws to push for the mandate of separation of firearm and ammunition in the home. The things that they're trying to push, I should say, are asinine, really. They really are. Go back and you look at the history of some of the Commonwealth nations that took away guns from their people. It didn't happen overnight, folks. It's a slow and tedious process. So now let's go back to my videos from a couple years ago where I was reading to you about the points of communism coming into America. One of the points was talking about how to disarm the population. Now, for every time a nation's been usurped, 99.999% of the time, first thing they do is they disarm the general population. And then they arm their elite thugs. Yeah, Mayor of Kansas City, I said the word thugs. To be their enforcers until they no longer need them. Don't believe me? Go back and look at pre-World War II history. When Adolf Hitler did away with one of his top SA leaders. The SA being the predecessor to the SS. Man got too big for his britches. Hitler viewed him as a threat and got rid of him. But he was one of his strong-armed thugs. So who do you think the United States Communist Party is going to use? I want you to think about that long and hard. But I'll give you a hint. When you go to Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, well, hell, the whole damn state of California. And you watch these people going in and robbing these stores blind and nobody doing a damn thing about it. Then come back and tell me who you think they're going to use as their thugs if they get control the way they're actually trying to. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, it's not going to be a pretty sight when this happens. Some of y'all keep out there, you know, hooting and hollering and this, that, and the other that we, you know, this, it'll never come to here. That's the worst thing that you can do. As the old adage says, you know, our freedom is one generation away from going away. And when you get too comfortable that the system will right itself, you're planning to fail. Failing to plan equals failure. Except this time the chips are all on the table, boys and girls and boys. Yeah, I don't mean to be somber, but hey, I'm just looking at the reality of the situation, folks. Everybody jokes about having voting axes to hide their guns. The real question is, how many of you would actually go through with it? How many would you actually comply with the lawful order? Or a so-called lawful order? And no, I'm not trying to piss nobody off, and I'm not trying to challenge anybody. But I will say this, that's how Hitler got the guns from his people. He ruled by fear. You don't do this, you keep a gun and don't turn it in, you can go to jail for many years. But we're also going to encourage your neighbors to report you. That's why it's of utmost importance to ensure that our federal government passes no red flag laws, which Obozo's all in favor of. You keep saying, well, Biden's the president. Biden is a puppet. Barack Obama's behind all this. Behind him is George Soros. Trace the money, folks. Don't believe me? There's the interview with Barack Obama asking if he could run for a third term, would he? The man absolutely said no. He said he'd rather find somebody he could manipulate from behind the scenes. And maybe he didn't use the word manipulate, but that's what it equates to. Joe Biden is just a puppet. Man can't even wipe his own ass, pull up his own Pampers. Secret Service is afraid he's going to fall down a set of steps and make a fool of himself. And God help us, that man dies in the office. Then we get kooky Kamala, who does have some sense of wherewithal about herself. She don't give a shit about this country. So, folks, need to wake up. Need to wake up. Start putting away things now. Food, medicine, firearms, ammunition. I'm not telling you to bug out. I'm not telling you to bug in. I'm just telling you to try to prepare yourself the best that you can. Because if the communists have their way, they are going to try and pass a unilateral bill giving all these illegals citizenship overnight to increase their voter rolls. Make no bones about it. That's what they're going to try and do. I mean, hell, California's already put an illegal immigrant in a position of authority on their board of elections. I forget which city or town it was. I think it was San Francisco. So now we've got a state acting as its own country. Yes, every state has its own constitution, is allowed to govern itself in accordance with its own constitutions within the parameters set by the U.S. Constitution. But it does not give them the right to place illegal immigrants in any position of authority. But I'm going to get off here, folks. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. Your friendly neighborhood old soldier.